5 divers prepared to enter the water in the Maldives. They were not beginners. Among them were experienced divers, marine researchers, and a dive professional who knew these waters. Their authorized diving limit was reportedly 30 meters. But hours later, one diver would be found near the cave entrance. The other 4 would be discovered together, deep inside the third section of an underwater cave at approximately 50 to 60 meters. No one from the group survived to explain how they got there. And that leaves one question hanging over the entire disaster. What was the original plan? Was the cave always their destination? Did the group intend to remain outside and simply look through the entrance? Or did a routine dive slowly transform into something far more dangerous? Somewhere before the divers entered the water, there should have been a briefing. A depth, a route, a time limit, a turn pressure, a procedure for separation, and an explanation of what every diver should do if the plan changed. But the public has never heard the complete briefing. It is the missing first chapter of the entire tragedy. This is the lost dive plan. And although we cannot know exactly what was said aboard that boat, we may be able to reconstruct the possibilities from what the divers carried, where they were found, and what appears to have happened inside the darkness. Before continuing, an important distinction must be made. The official investigation remains active. Several details discussed in this video, including the 6th diver, the sandbank illusion, the spare tank near the entrance, and the precise route taken, remain disputed, incomplete, or unconfirmed. This is not a declaration of guilt. It is a reconstruction of the questions investigators may now be trying to answer. Because when 5 experienced people make the same fatal journey, the explanation is rarely one isolated mistake. It is usually a chain. And the first link may have formed before anyone touched the water. The first major clue is the equipment. If a team plans to enter a deep underwater cave, the equipment normally reflects that decision. A cave has a ceiling. A diver cannot solve an emergency by swimming directly upward. The exit may be behind them, through a narrow passage, in total darkness. That changes everything. A properly prepared cave diving team would normally consider a continuous guideline to the open water, redundant lights, sufficient breathing gas, backup equipment, specialized propulsion techniques, and a gas plan that reserves enough for an emergency exit. But reports and witness accounts surrounding this dive have raised questions about whether the group entered with equipment more consistent with recreational open water diving. Single cylinders have been widely reported. Questions have also been raised about the number of lights, the absence of a visible guideline, and whether every member was equipped for a true overhead environment penetration. Some accounts have even described members of the group dressed for a relatively ordinary warm water dive rather than a prolonged technical cave operation. Clothing alone proves nothing, but equipment can reveal intention. If this was always meant to be a serious cave penetration, why did the preparation apparently not resemble one? That question supports one of the most important theories in the case. Perhaps the original plan was not to enter the cave deeply at all. Perhaps they were only going to look. That phrase, just a look, can sound harmless on the surface. At 30 meters, a diver may believe there is time to approach an entrance, shine a light inside, take a photograph, and turn around. But underwater, a boundary is rarely marked by a door. There may be no moment when the environment announces that a recreational dive has become a cave dive. One diver moves beneath a slight overhang. Another follows to maintain contact. Someone sees a larger chamber ahead. The light from the entrance remains visible. The group continues for another few meters, then another. At each stage, turning back feels easy. That is how plan creep can happen. The danger does not always begin with one dramatic decision. It can begin with several small decisions, each one appearing acceptable because the previous one caused no immediate harm. Experience can sometimes make that progression more dangerous. A new diver may stop because the situation feels unfamiliar. An experienced diver may continue because unfamiliar situations have been managed successfully before. The team may think they are adapting, but the environment may be quietly removing their options. Then comes the depth. At 30 meters, the surrounding pressure is approximately 4 times the pressure at the surface. At 60 meters, it is approximately 7 times surface pressure. That means a diver breathing the same physical volume with each breath consumes gas from the cylinder much faster at 60 meters than at the surface. A cylinder that feels generous in shallow water can begin disappearing at an alarming rate in deep water. Stress makes the situation worse. A diver who is calm may have a manageable breathing rate. A diver who is swimming hard, fighting current, searching for an exit, or helping another person may consume several times more gas. Now place 5 divers inside a dark cave. Remove the direct route to the surface. Add silt, add depth, add confusion. The cylinder is no longer simply equipment. It is a countdown clock. This creates the central contradiction of the lost plan. If they intended to reach the deepest chambers, the reported equipment appears difficult to reconcile with that goal. But if they did not intend to enter deeply, then something must have changed underwater. The first possibility is the just a peek theory. Under this scenario, the group descends with the intention of remaining near the permitted depth and observing the entrance from outside. They reach the area. The water appears clear. The entrance looks large. Perhaps ambient light reaches farther inside than expected. A member of the team enters briefly. The others follow. Nobody wants to become separated. The opening behind them remains visible, so they continue. The first chamber feels less like a cave and more like an enormous underwater room. That distinction is psychological, not physical. The ceiling is still a ceiling. But because the chamber is large, the danger may not feel immediate. Then someone notices another opening. Beyond it lies a second chamber. The team has already crossed the first boundary without incident. Crossing the second may feel like a continuation rather than a new decision. This is normalization of deviance. A rule is bent. Nothing bad happens. The absence of an immediate consequence begins to feel like proof that the action was safe. The rule is bent again. Eventually, the abnormal becomes normal, until the environment collects every unpaid consequence at once. The second possibility is a navigation error. Some viewers following this case have discussed what might be called the sandbank illusion. The idea is that the underwater terrain may have created a false visual reference. A ledge, pale sand formation, opening or sloping section could potentially have been mistaken for a familiar shallow feature. In clear water, a diver may feel confident about distance and direction, but depth changes light. A sloping reef can pull a diver downward almost without the descent feeling vertical. A current can also move the entire group while everyone's attention is focused on the terrain. The dive computers would have shown the increasing depth. But alarms do not physically stop a diver. A warning can be acknowledged, misunderstood, postponed, or ignored for a few seconds. And in a moving group, a few seconds can carry everyone farther than expected. Could the divers have followed the wrong contour and arrived at the cave entrance unintentionally? It is possible. But reaching an entrance is not the same as entering 3 chambers. A navigation mistake could explain how the group arrived somewhere unexpected. It does not, by itself, explain every decision that followed. That leads to the object some viewers have called the ghost tank. Reports and community discussions have mentioned an additional cylinder positioned near or outside the cave. Its exact purpose has not been publicly established. If such a tank was deliberately placed, it could suggest several possibilities. It may have been intended as emergency gas. It may have been a reference point. It may have been staged for another portion of the dive. Or it may have had no connection to a planned cave penetration at all. But an emergency cylinder at an entrance is not a substitute for a complete cave diving gas plan. To reach that cylinder, a diver must first find the exit. In clear water, that seems obvious. In a silt-out, the cylinder might be only meters away and still be impossible to locate. A spare supply of gas cannot save someone who cannot navigate to it. And that brings us to the most haunting figure in this story, the reported sixth diver. According to versions of the story discussed publicly, another diver was expected to join the group but chose not to enter the water. The precise reason has not been officially established. Perhaps the diver felt unwell. Perhaps there was a disagreement about the plan. Perhaps the conditions felt wrong. Perhaps the equipment did not match the proposed route. Or perhaps it was an ordinary personal decision that only appears prophetic because of what happened afterward. We must be careful not to invent words that were never spoken, but the existence of someone who remained behind creates an unavoidable question. What did that person hear during the briefing? Was the cave mentioned? Was a maximum depth stated? Was there disagreement? Did anyone ask about a reel, reserve gas, backup lights, decompression, or the current? And did the diver stay aboard because something simply did not feel right? Human factors specialists often study why competent people continue with plans even when warning signs are visible. One reason is group pressure. Not always aggressive pressure. Sometimes it is silent. Everyone else appears ready. The equipment is already assembled. The boat has reached the site. The leader seems confident. Nobody wants to be the nervous person who delays the group. Nobody wants to suggest that experienced professionals may be underprepared. So doubt remains unspoken. Each person looks at the others and sees confidence. But they may all be hiding the same concern. The group's apparent confidence then becomes evidence that the plan must be safe. Breaking that cycle requires a single person to say no. That can feel embarrassing before the dive. After a disaster, it can look like intuition. But refusing a dive does not require supernatural intuition. It may simply require respecting discomfort before the environment removes the ability to change your mind. Now imagine the group inside the cave. We do not know their exact timeline, but we can reconstruct how quickly conditions could have deteriorated. At first, everything may have felt controlled. The water may have been clear. The team may have been together. Their lights could identify the walls and openings. The entrance may still have appeared recoverable. Then the group passes into a deeper section. Ambient light fades. The divers now depend on artificial illumination. Someone turns. A fin strikes the bottom. A cloud of sediment rises. At first, it is only a thin veil. Visibility drops from several meters to 1. The divers move again. More silt rises. Lights that once revealed the passage now reflect back from suspended particles. The beam becomes a white wall. One diver changes direction. Another follows. Someone collides with the ceiling or the person ahead. Breathing rates increase. The team is no longer exploring. They are searching. Without a continuous guideline leading to open water, the cave offers no guaranteed direction. A diver may follow a wall and believe it leads outward, but the wall may curve into another chamber. A bubble trail may rise toward the ceiling, not toward the exit. A brighter patch may be another diver's torch. A dark opening may be the correct route, or a deeper dead end. The group may have reached what rescuers later described as the third and largest section of the cave. 4 victims were reportedly found close together there. That detail suggests the group may have remained connected until near the end. But being together is not the same as knowing the way out. Now the gas calculation changes minute by minute. Green becomes yellow. Yellow becomes red. One diver reaches reserve pressure. Another has more gas but is breathing rapidly. A regulator may be offered. 2 divers begin sharing one cylinder. Their movement becomes slower and more complicated. The team may attempt to retrace the route. But without a line, every direction is based on memory inside an environment that no longer resembles the one they entered. The cave has not physically changed. Their ability to read it has disappeared. Somewhere nearer the entrance, the group's dive professional was found separated from the other 4. That position raises another terrible possibility. Was he attempting to escape? Was he trying to locate help? Had he found the correct direction but exhausted his gas before reaching open water? Or had the team already become separated in zero visibility? We do not yet know. But his position shows how close survival can appear inside a cave. Near the entrance is not outside. A few meters can represent an impossible distance when the cylinder is empty. And this may have been the true point of no return. Not the moment they entered the water, not even the moment they crossed beneath the ceiling. The point of no return may have been the moment the original plan stopped controlling the dive. Perhaps the plan said 30 meters. Perhaps the group descended below it. Perhaps the plan said, remain outside. Perhaps one diver entered and the others followed. Perhaps the plan included a short look inside, but no penetration beyond the first chamber. Perhaps the team crossed into the second chamber because the first had felt manageable. Every theory contains the same underlying pattern. The environment became more demanding, while the preparation remained the same. The lost plan met the real cave, and the cave did not negotiate. Investigators now have the difficult task of separating evidence from assumption. Dive computers may reveal depth profiles, descent rates, bottom time, ascent attempts, and alarms. Cameras may reveal visibility, positioning, equipment, hand signals, and the route. Cylinder examinations may reveal remaining pressure and gas composition. Interviews may clarify what was said aboard the vessel. But even with electronic evidence, one thing may remain unknowable: the intention inside each diver's mind. A computer can show that someone descended. It cannot always show why. A camera can show a cave entrance. It may not capture the moment when a diver decided that entering it would be safe. A pressure gauge can show gas disappearing. It cannot explain why the team continued. That is why the briefing matters. A dive plan is more than a schedule. It is an agreement made while everyone can still speak clearly, question the leader, check the equipment, and refuse. Underwater, communication becomes limited. At depth, time becomes expensive. Inside a cave, the environment punishes uncertainty. The final briefing should decide the boundaries before those boundaries become difficult to defend. We may never hear the exact words spoken before the Maldives 5 entered the water. But their equipment, their depth, and their final positions may eventually reveal whether the original plan failed or whether the group abandoned it. 5 experienced divers entered the sea. 1 reported participant stayed behind. 4 victims were later found together in the deepest section. The 5th was found closer to escape. Between the boat and that final chamber lies the missing story. A story of confidence, a story of changing conditions, and perhaps a plan that became more dangerous, one small decision at a time. The most important question is not simply who made the first mistake. It is this: in a team of experienced professionals, who has the responsibility to stop a dive when the plan begins changing underwater? The leader? The guide? The first person who notices? Or every diver in the team? Tell me what you believe happened in the comments. And remember, the ocean does not care how experienced we believe we are. Inside a cave, the plan is not paperwork. The plan is the path home.